Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Please remember to like and subscribe. Subscribe if you love the Villa, and if you don't, that means you support Birmingham City. I didn't write the rules. I didn't write them. It's just there. It's terms and conditions of Spotify or something like that. Anyway, I have bought the new Aston Villa kit. Here it is. For those watching on YouTube, you can see. It looks a bit like the Real Madrid kit. It is actually the Adidas special white kit. I didn't actually manage to get a hold of the real one tonight, but what a fantastic thing Villa are doing, auctioning those shirts for charity. Good on you, Villa. I like to see things like that. But aside from that, let's get down to the game. You can read a lot into preseason. You can read it a lot into a 3-0 win over a Walsall side in your first game of preseason. And you know what it tells me? Aston Villa, Champions League last season, Premier League this season. We're winning the title. We're going to win the title. We're going to win Champions League and probably walk to it as well. So easy, isn't it? Football is simple game. It's a simple game. Uh, Easy stuff. No, look. Uh, I mean, you can't really go into too much depth about a game, but what you can say is that even in games which are pre-season, uh, everyone's just coming back from a few from Mykonos. Everyone's just been, got the top of their tans. Matty Cash has got a great tan on him at the moment. He's been loving it. Um, Dyed the hair blonde. Been to a few nightclubs out there, on the beachfront. It's been a good time this summer, but here they come. They're back at it, and pre-season football is essentially Mykonos football, isn't it? It's chilled out. It's in the sun, but even in those conditions, sometimes you can see a player who is just a level above. And I think in the first half, we saw that in Morgan Rogers. Now, when we signed Morgan Rogers, there was a certain podcast out there, very popular, well known, not an Aston Villa podcast, that said Aston Villa had had their pants pulled down by Middlesbrough. Well, I think Aston Villa have pulled those trousers back up, firmly have fixed that belt on, and are walking down the street like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, dancing in everyone's faces, saying, "Have you seen Morgan Rogers?" Because my goodness, you could see at the end of last season when he was playing in that left midfield role vacated by Jacob Ramsey because he was injured. You could see his growth as a player happening in um, rapid, quick time. It was like the evolution of man happening in literally 2 or 3 months rather than a million years. And there came a point where his finishing to me looked high level. Um, his ability to hold onto the ball with back to goal, high level. His physicality, really good. Every now and again, he make a wild pass in a game that, be dangerous. Needs to iron that out, but he's so young, what, 21, 22? That's just something he can get out of his game over time. But all the raw ingredients were there that as soon as he scored his first goal for the Villa against Brentford, in a fantastic goal it was, he then went on and his every goal he then scored was a supreme finish. And it felt to me like he has every single attribute to eventually become a striker, maybe even be the heir to Watkins. Now, tonight he played as the second striker behind Cameron Archer. And I wonder now if Ramsey's coming back, if Ramsey is going to be around more consistently this season, and the fact we now have Iling-Junior, who can now play in those left midfield roles, as can Jaden Philogene, will Morgan Rogers now be a second striker? And I said it before, the heir to Watkins, will he actually be the player who replaces John Duran? Will he actually feature up front quite a lot? I certainly think that in Rogers they have a player who can play in a lot of different positions to a really good level. And tonight, I know it's Walsall in pre-season. I know it's our first game in pre-season. You can't read too much into it. I get that. You don't need to remind me. I know it. But sometimes players look levels above. And Morgan Rogers looks like that. Um, Brilliant finish for his first goal, 1-on-1 with the keeper, and just a really hard, cool, well placed finish that could easily have just gone straight into the keeper, but no, he found a way past him. Good finish, and a good ball from Ross Barkley as well. Nice, quick thinking. Um, the second goal came about. It was a corner in, bombs around the area, a good finish from Morgan Rogers. He's alive to it. But I actually think just before that, Rogers had got the ball, whacked it from about 30 yards, 25 yards out, and a great save from the keeper. Again, um, this guy looks to me like somebody who, if I were to talk to people who don't watch Villa regularly and say to them who they should keep an eye on this season, who I think might end up being an England international a lot sooner than we even think, I think it's Morgan Rogers. And he showed tonight, he's sharp, carries on as he means to from last season. Sharp. That was really good, that first half from him. And I can't wait to now see him play further in pre-season. I can't wait to see the roles he takes up. I think it's probably going to be the second striker role. I can't wait to see what he does against, higher level opposition than Walsall. Uh, Interesting. Keep an eye on Morgan Rogers this season. Maybe that blonde hair, he doesn't need much of a glow because he's very good, but maybe that blonde hair is giving him even extra spice. So other than that, Ross Barkley, had his first start in the first half as well. Since coming back, one or two misplaced passes, one or two nice passes. Can't really read too much into it. We'll see how that develops. And then other than that, it was just kind of, bit standard really. I thought down the right, I like the look of Kane Kessler and Matty Cash together. They look sharp, but generally I think Villa looked quite sharp. It was quite nice. So yeah, fine, whatever. 2-0 up, great stuff. Second half. Now, this was the exciting bit for me, was to see a few of the debutantes. And didn't a lot of them look pretty? They're sat there at that debutante dance, and you're walking up to them, and you don't know who to pick. You don't know who to choose. You're like, do I ask you to do the rumba? Do I ask you to do I can't even remember any dances. The tango, the pina colada, the Bloody Mary. I don't know. Yeah, a few of them. So within 3 minutes, I had decided that Enzo Barrenechea was the greatest outfield Argentinian football player of all time. That Lionel Messi and Diego Maradona are now down in third and fourth place. It goes Enzo Barrenechea, Emi Buendia, and then Lionel Messi, Diego Maradona in that order. I say outfield players because, of course, the greatest Argentinian player of all time is obviously Emi Martinez. So, look, Barrenechea, well, again, I know it's pre-season, it's Walsall, whatever. We need to wait and see how this goes. Um, Against high level opposition when he's going to have less time on the ball and more competitive games. But what I could say from seeing him was that I got the same sense I got from watching him against when he played for Frosinone in various highlight videos. I'm not saying I watch Frosinone all the time, but he's a player who clearly is technically very nice. He's a player who wins tackles, puts his foot on the ball, and can then just deliver a nice short pass, or if he wants to, crossfield balls. And tonight, I thought he reminded me slightly of Douglas Luiz. I don't even know why you've entered signed Douglas Luiz now, looking at Barrenechea. Look, obviously Douglas Luiz he's different because he's a bit more. He's a player who plays a bit further forward, I guess. And Barrenechea is someone who, whilst he plays a bit further back, the more I watch him, genuinely, the more I think when Anana comes in, could Barrenechea play slightly ahead of him? And could Barrenechea actually be a more progressive midfielder? Because he's I mean, I think his strongest position will be sitting deep in midfield, but his passing, again, a bit like what I was saying about Morgan Rogers in the first half. Sometimes players just look a higher level. I think Barrenechea looked like that. I think he looks like a player who his precision for his crossfield balls was exceptional, and he's picking out passes really good. Now, I can't wait to see how he does this against better opposition and more competitive games. But the raw ingredients he showed us there to me suggests a player that I think we should be quite excited about, to be honest. And I've said it before, or in recent weeks at least, about Kosta Nedeljkovic, and we've all been talking about wanting a right back at Villa. We already signed a right back. We signed a right back who's played in the Champions League, who's at the age of 18 played to a very, very elevated level, has experience playing Manchester City and marking Jack Grealish in the Champions League. The player who's played for the best team in Serbia in Red Star. Um, and he's coming to Aston Villa. Now, just like with Morgan Rogers, Monchi, the scouting department, all Unai Emery have all clearly studied this guy. They've clearly looked at these underlying stats. There's got to be something there that these guys have seen that makes them think, what is it? What do we buy him for? 7, 8 million quid? That spending that kind of money on him is good value because eventually he could be the kind of fullback who gets to a level where someone like a Man City goes, I want to spend 60 million quid on this guy, right? Now, who knows how it's going to develop for him? But from what I can see of him in the videos I've watched of him, what I've read about him, he's a high impact player, high impact. He goes in for tackles really hard. He's very athletic. He's tall. He's languid, but he's strong. He's thin, but he looks strong, and his pace. He's got real pace on him, so he can get back and forward, back and forward. And what I saw in the videos I watched him is that his final ball, particularly his crossing, is really good. Now tonight for Villa, there were one or two times his forward passing was really positive. And there was one occasion he got the ball where it was really difficult to take it, took it under pressure, still managed to get forward to the byline and pull it back. I'm telling you, watch out for Nedeljkovic or Nedeljkovic, or as I think he was called on the commentary. Um, there's something there with that guy. I really like his athleticism, but also his kind of just from everything I've watched of him, just his high impact. He's a high impact tackler, and his kind just his final ball looks good. And so I'm intrigued again to see how he develops. Samuel Iling-Junior, a player tricky is how you describe him. Very tricky. I think him and Jacob Ramsey are going to play on that left position. And I think to have a Ramsey who's more direct, who's more half turn, run into space, bomb at a defender, send defenders into chaos and score a screamer. And then to have as a kind of alternative, a more really good in tight spaces, lovely touch, can turn one way and send defenders to. He can turn towards Mercury and he sends defenders towards Mars. And they're standing there on Olympus Mons, the highest point in the solar system, on the big mountain on Mars, extinct volcano. And they're all looking around going, where's Iling-Junior gone? Where is it? Who was marking him? You were marking him, weren't you? Then they all get into a brawl with each other while Iling-Junior just dancing around on Venus, jumping through all the geezers out down there. He's tricky, skillful, and he looks like he can pick out a pass without much backlift. Um, he's a unique looking player, and I can see why all the Italian media I've spoken to, the Juventus people I've spoken to, were not keen on seeing him leave. So again, a good sign. He got an assist, fantastic deep ball from Leon Bailey, all the way forward to Iling-Junior, and a lovely crossfield pass into Louis Barry, one of the best players in League Two last season for the champions, Stockport County, who went up, and again, I think Barry looked like a player who's filled out a bit. He looked confident, looked good. Again, another player I look forward to seeing developing pre-season. I'm not saying he's going to stay at Villa all season, but certainly looks like someone who's grown from some difficult spells at MK Dons and Ipswich. The positive signs he showed at Stockport, I think that confidence carried on into this game. And I think, again, I'll look forward to seeing what he does in pre-season. And, who knows? Maybe he'll be a player that, he excelled at Stockport in League Two. Maybe now he's ready to step into the League One or even the Championship. And if he has a year there, who's to say he doesn't do a Jaden Philogene and we come back for him next season and go, really like Louis Barry now, want him back. Again, interesting to watch his development. But yes, Iling-Junior, who was on, positive signs again. So all the signings tonight, I thought positive signs. Joe Gauchi, nice to see him get a first game. Still Swinkles, I like he's filled out as well. He looks a lot bigger, look very assured, very tall as well, which is what we need, height. Um, Again, look forward to seeing him play against higher opposition. I look forward to him playing in this preseason. Swinkle toes is what I'm going to call him. Very nice on the ball, he can dance around, tiptoes, twinkle toes, swinkle toes. So yeah, nice to see him. Caden Young as well. Every time I've ever seen him play, looks like a player who's got a future in football. Absolutely, a future at a high level as well. Whether that's at Aston Villa, I don't know. Of course, we don't know. But I think when Emery rates him, he's rated him enough to play him before. And again, preseason, let's see. But a lot of positive signs tonight. They look sharp. You're coming straight back into preseason, your first game, and there were a lot of things tonight from new players as well that looked sharp. And other than that, Anana, John Percy confirmed that today from the Telegraph. Anana's going to go ahead this weekend by the looks of it, 50 million quid. I've got an interview coming out about him. Put that out ASAP. And secondly, Musa Diaby, it looks like he's going to Saudi Arabia. Lots of different fees going around. I think he is a player who's worth. I think we should push the Saudi league as high as possible. Al Ittihad, this is a star signing for the Saudi league. They are getting a player who's not even at his peak yet from a team who's just qualified for the Champions League, who had a really decent start in the Premier League last season. I think it's a shame to lose him. I think he's got higher levels to go to. But a great comment last night on YouTube from the Avenger, I think he was called, who mentioned about how Aston Villa signed Moussa Diaby at a time when we couldn't have foreseen that Leon Bailey would reach the level he did. And I thought that was a fantastic point. And yes, I bet Villa were wondering, actually, I didn't think, because Moussa Diaby is a right winger, essentially. I don't think second striker is his strongest role. So I think if Villa can get a huge fee for him, which he is, he should be a 60, 70 million pound player. He should. He's a star signing for the Saudi League. They've got all the money in the universe. So if Saudi Arabia wants to buy bloody the moon, they can probably do it. So, it's nothing. Chump change. The Saudi crown prince Bin Salman could probably go down the back of his sofa and find 500 million quid just there, if he wants it, get back to playing the PlayStation or whatever he's doing. So yeah, I think it should be a huge fee for a super talented player, and Aston Villa will replace Diaby, and I think we should be excited at the prospect of who might come in. I've seen João Felix be mentioned a lot. Got a few thoughts on him. He is a world-class talent when he is on form. But I want to talk about him a bit later. But I think as a second striker role, he probably does fit that a little better than Diaby does. As I say, I think Diaby did really well in that role, generally, and I think he has a lot of improvement to come. But I do think his natural position is a winger, really. And fundamentally, he's probably not going to get past Leon Bailey in that role, which is why Jaden Philogene coming in as a competitor for Leon Bailey makes a bit more sense, because he's somebody who knows he's not going to start every game, but will start enough to be happy about it and come on the pitch enough that'll be happy about it as well. Anyway, please like and subscribe. If you like what we do, please give us a 5-star review on Spotify. Go on your phone, give us a 5-star on iTunes as well, or Apple, 5-star review there. Write a nice review, whatever, just because it helps us grow. It helps us keep doing this, because I really want to keep doing this. I love meeting fellow Villa fans. I love chatting about Villa. I really love doing this. I really do. Yes, there we go. Up the mighty Villa.